What's up, Autonomics? Welcome to the final Monday, the second final day, day 29 of the Autonomy 30-Day Habit Building Challenge. We're almost done. Today was a 2-3 for me. Got to the gym just fine this morning, and we are one day away from concluding this entire challenge. So, congratulations for making it this far, and tomorrow will be a sort of a special wrap up, right? Let's jump into there we go. Jump into the data itself. There's only one more blank to fill on this tracker, right? So great progress. We've got really good data. We have tracked progress over time. We have a number of things that we can use to, one, check on how well we adopted the habit with the different bits of technology, the tools, if you will, that we have about ourselves and how to handle this and what mindset to take and what steps to take to get green mental traffic signals to positively color the experiences to make sure that it feels better to repeat them. And the other steps, things like other helpful things, identity habits, linchpin habits, using all these things to establish the habit and then to test it, right? And then we know how to test for habit strength. We know how to test for context dependence, which we want something to be context independent to where we make sure we get it done even when the situation changes. So all of that showed up, and we now have a nice data set that we can use. So think about, if you haven't already, start thinking about some of the different things that happened along your 30 days that might have changed the numbers, that might have contributed to them. And there's no way we'll be able to account for every factor. There are an infinite number of variables in our lives, and we're just trying to get a sense of what the most impactful ones were. It's a bit of a guess too, so we can isolate them, identify them, isolate them, and control for them, and see if there are things that we can shift in our lives to be able to do this better. And as that goes, and we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, the best way to approach changing things in terms of input factors to your life to improve your life goes like this. Start with behavioral change first. So making sure you're taking the right actions, setting yourself up for success. Then nutritional, right? Then supplemental, then medicinal, right? So behaviors, nutrition, supplementation, and medicine, those things. And in that order every time. And this way, we don't end up taking a pill from a doctor that is treating something that we are doing to ourselves somewhere else. And that's a very important thing, right? All it's doing is masking the input it's masking an input that we are otherwise doing to ourselves that doesn't have to be there. So sometimes you'll go through all three and you'll still end up at medicinal, which is fine. ADHD is a very good example of that. But along the way, you want to make sure that you are curating your environment and your experiences and actions to increase your baseline dopamine, in the case of ADHD, as much as possible. And that's not to say it takes the place of medication, but it makes sure that there's nothing working against it. So that's why that's so important. This is the same way. This life optimization should all be approached from that direction. And that way we are congruent to the things that would make us healthy anyway, before we resort to something that's very, very strong, like prescription medication. So if habits are a part of that, right? Take a look at your habits. This is obviously very behavioral in nature. And then you can use nutrition to say, oh, well, it might have been easier to go work out if I wasn't eating a lot of unhealthy food. So, yeah, that's probably the case. So think about all of the inputs to this and your life in general. If you want to make some kind of change, think about what you can do in that context and in that order, and that will make it a very healthy process. So looking back at my past few days, I had my birthday. The day before my birthday, I went out for some drinks, and both of those things affected my habit executions, right? And I got to see those effects very plainly because I wasn't doing adoption techniques. I wasn't using identity basis for habits. I wasn't using bracketed tasks. And I saw just I saw not only how much volatility that suddenly introduced, but how much friction alone it introduced, right? So missing those things spiked me up to a 4. And then the alcohol obviously had something to do with that as well. And so you can see that this very, very nice pattern was suddenly disrupted, and it's taking a while to get it back down without deliberately using adoption techniques, right? So, but it is still coming back down, which is another good thing to know, that my habit of working out in the morning has been sufficiently strengthened to where it is lowering its own friction as long as I am going back to the normal behaviors that I was before my birthday and the day before, where I had some drinks with some friends, right? So that's really nice to see and nice to know about the habit. And I thought of sort of on the fly here. So just going back and looking at it and figuring out different angles and ways to analyze the results and the inputs can really help you identify some things and then tell you things about yourself. And that's really what we're here to do, is learn about ourselves and use that to improve ourselves. There's no reason to try to force change as long as we can do something that is naturally aligned with us. So if there was a different contour of habit execution here, then I would have a different idea about how habits set in, how they disrupt, and how they reset. And I could also know that slightly different detail about myself. Now I know that this is typically how something might go if I missed a day and then I consumed alcohol. It's like, okay, well, the next few days after that are going to be more difficult, as you would expect. However, it looks like I can autopilot them as long as I have the habit well enough established by, 3 weeks. So that's great, because that means I can probably relax, have a good time when I want to, and then trust that my natural, mental state will carry me back into the habit, with that habit having been established as self-sustaining and self-enhancing. That's a great thing to know, because now I can relax and say, okay, the habit's there even when it gets challenged. That's what I mean. So that's a long way around to it. I was a 2 and a 3 today. I expect that to go lower tomorrow for the final day, because it just seems to get easier and easier, and still using testing only protocols. So easy enough, right? That said, for tomorrow, we'll talk about a little more than just all of this, and a little more than just a single testing phase day. We will discuss how we can carry this into a new 30 days if we want, how to add more to this if we want. I'll go through a few different examples of what to do if you want to keep using this, and how to make it even more powerful, how to stack it. It's pretty simple. You can probably intuitively figure it out, but I will make that part of tomorrow's final video for the challenge. So thank you to everyone again for staying along on the journey this far. All you subscribers, thanks very much. I'm glad and so happy really to have you out there watching these videos. I still see the views come in. Thank you so much. That helps me out. That helps the channel. That helps me get this value out to more and more people. Non-subscribers, I hope you're enjoying the content. If you have no idea about anything I just said, make sure you go back and watch the start video, which is the one before day 1. And that will explain all of the neuropsychology that's involved in this process. And then you start on the journey, and then along the way, there are sort of milestones which will introduce new concepts and make everything look like I have it on the screen here. So if it doesn't make sense, just go back and try it out. Try the journey. You don't have to, but the idea is for me to be there with you for each day of the journey. And I tell you my own experience, and then you can compare yours to that. Not if it's better or worse, but just so you have an idea of what's going on, right? Then you have someone that knows how the tool works, that's using it along with you. It's the idea, the whole idea of this video series and this challenge. So that's what I've got for today. Thank you again. I hope your week is off to an excellent start, and I will see you tomorrow for the final day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.